Now we're going to add a decision shape to query our database. Many databases produce an error when trying to enter duplicate records. Most AtomSphere integrations can systematically prevent duplicating error records and/or failures against the destination system. The decision shape is a simple way to prevent duplication as it compares values within a document. The result of the comparison forces the document down a true or a false path. In this activity, what we're going to do is add a decision to query how many records matching those that come from your source exist in the destination or your database system. If the value is 0, then the document is filtered out from the process flow. So on our palette, if we select, type in DE for decision, we can drop and drag a decision field. So for decision shapes, we typically give them a name, explaining what we're testing for. So in this case, we're testing to see if this is a new account. For our first value, we will select the magnifying glass to choose it. It is going to be a SQL statement. When we create a SQL statement, we need to have a connection. So we will select our connection. For our output column, we're going to be returning one field. The type of the field that we're going to be returning is going to be a character. Do we want to cache the values, store them in memory? We do. So we will begin by typing our SQL statement. Now we do have an editor, a SQL editor, if you click on this, or you can just enter it in the SQL box. When you click on the editor, we do have a full SQL editor, which will check your text. Now, one thing we have also in your resources section is we do have all of our SQL scripts written there for you, so you don't need to type them in, you can just copy and paste. So we're going to select count. The count is a special word in SQL. What it means is how many records am I returning? And we're getting that information from the table, the customer table, where we stored our data. Do we want everything? No. We want everything with the name that we just passed in and the user ID that we used in our map. So the user ID that I used in my map was boomi trainer. So I'm just going to paste this in. I'll click on OK. And it automatically populates it in the block for me. So I do encounter a question mark. In the world of SQL, what a question mark is it's telling us that it is looking for a parameter. And the first question mark it encounters is the first parameter. The second question mark it encounters is the second parameter, and so on. So it is encountering my first parameter, so I need to come down here and populate it. So I'm going to click on the plus symbol to add a parameter. This is coming from a profile element. It's XML, not database. So I need to go out and search for my profile, which is going to be my Salesforce query response. And the field that I'm going to select is the name field. I will click on OK. And OK again. Next, I need to determine what my comparison value will be. I have a number that I can choose, but I am going to go with the default of equal to. And we want to test how many records we are returning. So we're going to have a static value. So we'll click on the plus symbol. We're going to have a static value at this point in time of 0. Because if it's greater than 0, we don't want to load it. We only want to load it if it's not in the database. So we're going to click on OK. We're going to click on OK to save our decision shape. So notice our process. We have our decision shape, we have our true and our false path. Next, what we'll be doing is testing our process. Before we can run this, we have a little bit of work we need to do to clean up the process. If we were to run it at this point in time, it would just go out. It would get our 2 records from Salesforce and it would not continue any further because none of these shapes are connected. So the first shape we're going to connect is we're going to connect the map shape, and the map shape is going to connect into the database connector. We're also going to come over here and hook in the decision shape. We're going to have the true path followed down to the map, and then the database. The false, we're just going to have it stop. One thing that we do as a boomi recommendation is whenever we have a path, what we want to do is show that you are completely at the end. You don't want to go any further. We have a special shape for that. It's known as a stop shape. We put them at the end of each of our paths. Now before I hook this up, I just want to discuss, if I did not have the stop shape on here and I just had the red arrow at the end, would this do the same thing as hooking up the stop shape itself the way it is? And the answer to that is yes. These do the exact same thing. However, with the stop shape, you have an end and continue, and you also can turn this off and say, I don't want to go down any other execution paths. So therefore I turn it off and it becomes end and return. This is helpful for when you're testing and you are in the very beginning of testing and you don't want to go down multiple paths, you just want to go down one path and you're done. I'm going to turn that back on. It's also a recommendation. So when you are creating your process, we know that you are done and you're not waiting to attach any extra shapes down here. You didn't want to do anything else. So your intent is well known. At this point in time, we're going to save. I'm going to close everything up. And then we're going to give it a test. We'll click on the blue test button. We're going to run this with our test atom cloud. We will click on the run test. When it is spinning, it means that when it's yellow and it's spinning, it's going out and it's processing your data. Because this is our first time, what is going to happen is it is going to go out and it's going to test, and it's going to say, is this record out in the database? If it gets back a 0, it comes back and it will not go down the map. It goes down the map path and it inserts it into the database. It does not go down the false path. If I were to run it again, which I'm going to do in a moment, it should go down the false path because I've already inserted the value one time. At this point in time, what will happen is it will look at my new account and it will get back a record. So it will say, oh, it's already out there. So therefore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the false path, which is what it did for both records. So what it has done is it's weeded out the records. So you only have one record out there with your name on it, as opposed to if you run it 5 times, you would have 5 different records out there with your name. This concludes testing our process tracking process.